Welcome to the Mexpreneurs Podcast, the podcast about the stories of Mexican tech startup founders who are building world-class, fast-growing companies and having a positive impact at a large scale. My name is Sergio Chavez. I'm a Mexican based in Germany, a tech startup founder, executive, and mentor, and your host. Today we welcome back Ricardo Garcia together with his co-founder, Raphael Mayer. Ricardo and Raphael, together with Geremy Cao, Jing Mu, and Carine Lim, are the founders of Virtetic, a health tech startup based in Melbourne, Australia. Virtetic is revolutionizing the rehabilitation process for individuals who have experienced limb loss through immersive virtual reality and advanced game-based interventions. Their innovative platform helps patients prepare mentally and physically for prosthetics, making the recovery journey more efficient, empowering, and ultimately more human-centered. Virtetic has quickly gained awareness in the global healthcare community and is currently collaborating in initial trials with leading clinics and early adopters across Australia and Europe, showing significant improvements in patient outcomes. Ricardo is CEO and Raphael is CTO. They both met at the University of Melbourne during their PhD studies in prosthetics. Ricardo is originally from Mexico. He is responsible for the overall company vision, leadership, strategy, and fundraising. You can learn more about Ricardo and his professional journey through the previous podcast episode. Raphael is originally from Austria. He leads product development and all technology aspects around Virtetic's product. Prior to Virtetic and his PhD, he worked at Ottobock, a global leader in prosthetics and orthotics for people with mobility challenges. I hope you enjoy. Support for this episode comes from Skyflare, a cybersecurity company with a mission to make e-commerce safe for online shops and which currently protects dozens of Shopify-based businesses through its 360 degrees holistic protection. As an online shop owner, you know that every cent you spend in online advertisement counts, especially in Google AdWords. Therefore, keeping a tight control of your budget and the ROI are essential. Nevertheless, there are bad actors out there who can make those costs explode. Skyflare's Click Fraud Protection Solution helps you prevent and resolve those threats. At Mexpreneurs, we had the privilege to have Skyflare's founders in the podcast, including Juan Ocampo, a Mexican tech startup founder, and Skyflare's chief operations officer. Visit skyflare.com/Mexpreneurs to learn more and also to get a 10% discount during your first 3 months of your annual subscription. Skyflare is at the moment available in Europe, Mexico, and Canada through the Shopify App Store. Hello, Ricardo. Raphael, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sergio.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you, Ricardo, for being here again. Raphael, a pleasure to have you. Guys, let's kick it off with telling us a little bit about Virtetic. So what is Virtetic?
Virtetic, it's a digital health company, a startup, where we are transforming the journey of recovering from limb loss, from being frustrating and uncertain to being one of hope, confidence, and limitless potential. We do that through game-based virtual reality interventions.
That sounds like an incredible mission in which you guys are. But what exactly is it like today for people that lose a limb? What is the current experience? What is that issue that you guys are tackling?
Right now, from when someone loses a limb to the point where they actually get physical prosthesis is 4 to 6 months. And most of the time, people don't really know what to expect or what it is going to be like to use a prosthesis. There are no actual tools that help people have an understanding and make an informed decision about a prosthesis. And part of the frustration, both from someone who's had an amputation and then the clinicians working with them, that it's very difficult to set expectations and get people started early in that journey with a positive outlook and get people to really believe that they will be able to do the things that they want to do.
And how exactly do you guys stumble with this problem? Do you guys have any personal experience? How exactly did you ended up focusing in this specific issue?
I guess it's a bit of a combination of where we all met, I suppose. Like, we all met during a PhD, so 3 of the 5 co-founders did. And that PhD was, for all of us, focused on different parts of prosthetics. So we already had an interest in prosthetics. I don't think we have a personal story of prosthetics, but we all have a personal story of developing tech for people, like being in medtech and developing tech that is actually useful for people's lives, not just cars and phones and whatever. I think that's sort of where it comes from.
And then while doing that research, so we had clinical advisors that they're working with amputees all the time. And as we were working on our PhDs and regularly showcasing the technology that we were developing and working on, they saw that opportunity to say, oh, well, actually, some of this work that you guys are doing can be used to solve a problem that we have in the clinic. And that's what actually got us down the path of building a business and commercializing our research of technology.
And you guys also mentioned about virtual reality. What's the role of virtual reality in all of this?
It's the main thing of our solution and value that we bring to the prosthetics community, because sometimes difficult to picture, but if you were to close your eyes and open and close your hand and feel how your hand moves, that's all that an amputee has to learn to use a prosthesis in those like first 4 6 months. Some of the prosthetic manufacturers have done things like, well, they have sensors that eventually get used in the prosthesis, and they have a little app, and they can use that to see a little graph or maybe a little car sort of like moving around. The main issue has always been that unless you have an actual prosthesis, there is no way to experience how do you use a prosthesis? What does it look like? How does it move? How do you grab things with it? And virtual reality is very special in that sense that it immerses you in an environment that you can interact with, and you can give people a virtual prosthesis which they can use and they can interact with the environment with. You still lack the physical part of it, like the touch and that physical feedback, but you have the functional control aspect of it that is actually getting you to do the movements the way that you will with an actual prosthetic device. So it's very powerful in getting the brain to getting it started with understanding the prosthesis, accepting a prosthesis, and developing the skills that you need for the actual physical prosthesis.
And I guess because it's so immersive, it sort of conveys the idea of how prosthesis works really easy to people. They just see the prosthetic hand and they tense one of the muscles and suddenly it opens. And that's something they might have not been able to see for a very long while, because that's not possible as long as you don't actually build the prosthesis.
And does this apply for any limb? Like if it's an arm, if it's a hand, if it's a leg, does it apply for any different limb that person might have lost? And also, is this primarily for people that have lost a limb, or even for people that probably were born without a limb or with some type of dysfunctionality? Like, where does this apply and where is it primarily used currently?
It works for both arms and legs. Now, the application for legs is different because you cannot simulate a leg and then say like, oh, let's learn to walk, right? Because for that you need the actual device. But you can start doing things. So one with rehabilitation and building muscle mass, maintaining muscle mass. But what we have found that is actually more impactful is with something called phantom limb pain. So that's the pain that people feel in the limb that is no longer there. So after amputation, if you lose your foot, you may still feel pain in that foot, even though it's not there. And in a similar way, virtual reality has that really cool capability of tricking the brain to think my limb is there, so maybe those mixed signals that I'm getting from the peripheral nerves are, shouldn't be pain. It's fine. It looks okay. I can move it. I can do things. It shouldn't be a problem. So the application is slightly different, but in the end, those specific properties of virtual reality are what make it quite impactful for this type of people, for people with loss.
And it works for people for living with limb loss or limb difference. It works the same way. For upper limb, it means like we're controlling a prosthesis, so we use sensors that are placed on that arm. So as long as you can use one of the different sensors we have, you can use the application and move the prosthetic hand, no matter if it's a limb difference or a limb loss. And that is the same for legs, basically.
If I'm understanding correctly, makes the transitions toward a prosthetic significantly better, easier, faster than the traditional methods that people with limb loss currently have. And is Virtetic primarily used during these transition of adopting a new prosthetic, or is it also used during the lifetime of the prosthetic while the person has that prosthetic? Like, what are the different points of time where Virtetic is being used by the individual carrying the prosthetic?
The first use that we're looking at is that phase before the first myoelectric prosthesis. So they are controlled by sensors placed on the arm, and they're motorized to open, close, and do different functions. But people could be using cosmetic or body power prosthesis before that. That's what we found, like with the pilots that we've done, that people who use body power prosthesis, they actually have had like significant impact in the way they see this new myoelectric functional prosthesis. and they see the benefit of having one, because body power can be quite limited in their functionality and its technology from 50 and 60 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
And I guess it also has long-term health issues, like you're controlling the lost limb with the other limb, which makes you compensate, potentially get back issues and all those things. It's not ideal.
Most people have had not a great experience with that first prosthesis, so they're unsure whether like it's worth it. Like a lot of people abandon it. So that's what we've seen like the most impact right now, because as we're also getting started, people that are using it, they immediately see, I can do this. An example is someone who recently used it in one of the pilot sessions, and she was so emotional because she had been dreaming of moving her hand for many, many years, and she had the opportunity to finally do it again in virtual reality. So for her to realize that she can still do it and myoelectric prosthesis would be the best for her, it's absolutely amazing. And then in terms of long-term use of it, I think that's where phantom pain is probably something that, longer term people will be using this technology for, as it's something that may not disappear or may be completely removed.
Or may come in different episodes. So phantom pain has a variety of forms and how it looks for different people.
There is that potential. I mean, like both from a treatment perspective for phantom pain, but then later on in capacity building and building up skills with more sophisticated or complex prosthesis.
It's incredible, all of these different scenarios that you guys are sharing. Also, people that had a prosthesis but didn't have a good positive experience before. So there's a lot of different potential uses of these. And what's your guys' big vision? Like, are you envisioning in the future anyone who will need to carry a prosthetic will have an enjoyable experience, will have a functional experience? How do you see that Virtetic is going to change the world in the future for anyone that is carrying a prosthetic?
The perfect example is from one of the clinics that we're working with, that one of the lead clinicians literally said, I want all my clients from now on to use this, and then I'm going to call every single one of the ones that we work with to come back and like try this, because of the impact that our offering is having on people. So I 100% see a future where this becomes a standard of care, right? Like if you want to get the best outcomes and give people the best opportunity to achieve their goals with a prosthesis, then I see this as the way to go forward.
Yeah, like the first point of contact of anyone losing a limb should be what we are producing, showing them what they are capable of and how their future will look like, and getting them into that, okay, I can already train whilst I wait for my stump to heal and my funding gets approved for an actual prosthesis, providing them that method to progress right away. We usually don't wait for other medical treatments. We try to get them done very quickly. So we want to bring that into prosthetics as well.
I can imagine it's an incredible, painful, and difficult transition to go through that. And from what I understand, you guys can pretty much ease that transition, make that transition easier and even more enjoyable than what it is today against all of the traditional methods. That's incredible. And guys, you've already mentioned about some of the experience that you've had, some of the feedback that you've received from clinics, from different partners, customers that you're working with. Please walk us through some of the traction that you've seen. What are some of the big achievements that you've got since the beginning of the company?
We've always engaged with clinics and people with lived experience. That's part of the way that we do things. We love co-design. We're working with the people who are doing this every day and have the lived experience. So, I mean, from the very beginning, we're already working with a few clinics here in Melbourne, and Raph used to work for a prosthesis manufacturer. So we had those connections, and we've always seen that excitement from everyone in all the different stakeholders, like clinical users. It makes sense, right? For everyone's like, this makes absolute sense, and it should be something that is available to everyone. And as we've progressed over the years and we've expanded our reach across the industry as a whole, we get that feedback and people wanting to work with us. It's a really cool thing. The industry also at the same time, you would think that it would be so technologically advanced and all these things, but it's sort of like stuck in the past to some extent. There are some really cool mechatronic devices in prosthetics, particularly for legs, and some of the hands as well. They're very awesome devices, but then we're still stuck with no digitization of anything. A lot of things that they're finally starting to get more widely adopted, 3D scanning, 3D printing, and so on. Something that in other industries has been going for a really, really long time. So what we are doing is actually, there's nothing like this in the industry, and everyone just really loves it.
And also, if I understand correctly, you're no longer limited to Australia. You're also doing some work outside of Australia, in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. So could you walk us a little bit through that?
It ties into what Ricardo said, that we love working with end users, MBDs themselves, and clinicians. And that's why we are trying to engage with people in different countries. On the one side, design and develop interventions, but then also drive the clinical application of it.
And again, with the prosthesis manufacturers, they're in the US or in Europe. So what I actually really like about the industry is how open everyone is to collaboration and working together. We haven't really found anyone who is like, we don't want to work with others. Big prosthetic manufacturers, smaller ones, large service providers, small ones, they're all willing to talk to you, to check it out, to give you feedback, to collaborate in one way or another, right? And that's opened door for us in many of the countries that we've been to, work with people in Germany, in Spain, the US, Singapore. So it's been an amazing experience in the industry to be able to just message someone and they'll be like pretty open to have a conversation and help out where possible.
And also due to the fact that this is a global problem. So this is not a problem exclusive from Australia. This is something that people all over the globe is going through, some with probably less support than others. So this is definitely a venture that has significant global potential as well.
Yeah, like how can we make the things more accessible as well, right? One of the benefits of technology is that you can make things accessible to people who may not have the funds or are more remotely located.
We will be right back for a conversation with our guest. Support for this episode comes from Partnership Leaders, the leading community of partnership professionals and executives in SaaS and tech with over 1,500 members globally. We're living in the decade of the ecosystem, and every CEO needs to become a partnership leader. Just take a look at the top companies in the world today, like Microsoft, Google, and Apple. They have all become platform companies, and partnership executives in IT have been the ones leading these transformations. Partnership Leaders brings these executives together and is building a playbook to enable CEOs and business leaders across industries to transform their organizations into platform companies. If you're a tech startup founder, Partnership Leaders is the place for you to learn how to leverage partnerships to take your business to the next level. I'm a member of PL and co-host of the Geremy chapter and have seen firsthand the richness and value of this incredible community. Visit partnershipleaders.com to learn more and to apply to become a member. Make sure to mention in your application that Mexpreneurs referred you so you can receive a special price if your application is accepted. Guys, I would love to now transition briefly to the team. So I have the pleasure to talk to both of you. Could you please briefly walk us through the team, the people behind Virtetic?
We are 5 co-founders. We're talking to Rick and May. And then there's another 3 of them. Jing is one of the people we worked with through a PhD. So that's how we met Jing, I guess. And then we have Geremy, who is a business guy who we know through Ricardo, I guess. And then Carine, who through Ricardo and Geremy. Who does a lot of marketing and social engagement. And then we have a myriad of interns who are actually driving a lot of what we do. We have some casual and freelance staff.
It all sort of started with Raph, Jing, and I in our PhDs working in similar topics. And then when we started looking at the commercialization of our work, I was like, we're 3 researchers and we work well together. But if you want to have a venture, you need a bit of more flavor in your team, right? Different experiences and different skill set. So at the time, I know Geremy from doing Taekwondo. We were in the Taekwondo club here at the University of Melbourne, and we were actually part of the team running the club at the time. I had been working with Geremy quite closely, and he's doing accounting and finance studies and work. So I was like, oh, perfect. I know I can trust Geremy, so I am willing to open the door for him to come in and crack the whip on the financial side of things and drive that side of the business. And then we sort of felt that we were also, because the first few months it was the 4 of us, and we thought that different type of personality would be valuable to have in the team. So that's where Carine comes in. So Geremy and Carine knew each other quite well from uni, and when he introduced us to her, she fit in straight away, and she does management consulting. So we thought that those sort of different skill set, and she's like really bubbly, excited person. It would fit quite well in the team dynamic, sort of like have different personalities and experiences.
It took us actually a while to meet in person, I think, in the beginning. I'm pretty sure that we sat in our COVID bedrooms for the first year before I actually got to meet Carine, I'm pretty sure. Possibly Geremy as well. So we were like just spinning the ideas around and doing some programs for the first year and not being actually able to meet each other in person. So it was an interesting start to it.
Yeah.
Ricardo's PhD, where he started to use VR, I guess that was sort of the seed.
So the University of Melbourne was the primary point of connection of all of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we like working in person and like things together. It does help when you're developing things and testing. You need to work with hardware. It 100% helps to be in the same room. But yeah, we also like it. I'd rather be in the same room with other people and joking about stuff randomly rather than just being at home and having no social interaction.
Well, I guess the combination of having the freedom to work together and work very fast and very agile, but then giving people the opportunity to also live their life and work from home if they need to for a day. But it's a combination of those things, I guess.
And also, if I understand correctly, you guys are also physically located in the same place. I assume that that's also an important factor in building a venture like Virtetic because of the lab work and the testing and all of that. So you do need to be physically together instead of on a remote setup where people is across the different locations across the globe.
It's a combination of the passion about the problem and the people that we work with and the very specific experience and skill set that only us as a team have. The reality is that not a lot of people are in the prosthetics industry, and even fewer working on digital health aspects of it. That skill set, our connections, our network, and that diversity of the team, I think that's what makes us really unique and get to where we are now.
And if I understand correctly, you guys are covering the different bases, like the technical aspect, the business aspect. But in your view, like, why do you guys believe that you have the right mix as a founding team to make these ventures successful?
Money. Isn't it always like that with startups? Now, in our case, we've been working with a few clinics on commercial pilots and now getting to the point where we can get our first revenue in. So that's our key objective right now. So getting that validation, someone will put money into this because they see the value in it. And then the next 2, 3, 10, I think building that business aspect of the company that we can have a sustainable business and that wide range of people see that value. It's very different to say like, oh yeah, we all think it's really cool, but now you got to put a significant amount of money into it because these things are not cheap is the key thing for us. And from there, really figuring out how we can scale this to the point where we can reach the most amount of people. Because after all, this is made to help people. And the main reason why we're excited about taking the research out of the lab and out of PhDs is because of that impact and the ability for this to make a difference in a lot of people. So that's always been the goal. How can we make this sustainable and get it to as many people who have lost a limb as possible?
Guys, now thinking about where you are today, but looking forward into what you guys have ahead of you, could you please walk us through some of your key priorities for the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, like I don't think we have a filter who is interesting for us. What we have seen so far, it tends to be like in tech, you adopters who come first. But then again, the prosthetic industry is very techy. So all of them are really excited about new tech. But really, it's a lot of clinics who want to drive the customer engagement, give their customers the best experience there is. I think that's what, for the clinics which we have engaged with, has been the most important part so far. Like how they can help their customers transition into prosthesis and showcase how they can actually use a prosthesis and drive that motivation and engagement for them. So those ones are the ones which I think will get the best out of our product, the ones who are like following that.
And in terms of the profile of the clinics that you're working with or that you're looking for, what is exactly the profile of clinics that are interesting for you guys?
In the end, this is another tool for clinicians to help their clients get better outcomes. And there's a lot of benefit that they get also from using this technology. With, as I mentioned at the beginning, they struggle a lot with setting expectations and a lot of the time motivating people to believe that they can use a prosthesis and that they will benefit from it and that is the right thing to do. And this helps them actually have that self-realization that I can do this. And this is amazing. I should get this prosthesis. We think that partnership with the clinical experts, like they're the experts in the end. And a lot of the decisions that we make are influenced by the feedback and how they're using it and where they're seeing the benefit and value.
And you're going through the clinics, so you're not serving the end customer directly. So it's the clinics who you're primarily partnering with to basically make your product accessible.
Right now, we are focused in Australia and opening up collaboration in Singapore. So the thing is that VR interventions are classified as medical devices. So we need to go through regulations in each region that we want to go to. So we have approval for Australia at the moment. So we want to establish here in Australia and prove our business model and operational model to then say, well, let's go after a bigger market like in Europe or the US and get a partner that we can work with to go through the regulatory hurdles and deploy it at scale rather than in a few clinics.
So it seems that in the following months, you guys are going to be quite busy working with clinics in different parts of the world. And also what I wanted to ask you is mainly clinics in Australia that you're focused on, or is it also clinics in different parts of the world that you're also targeting right now?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Prosthetic manufacturers, distributors, or these are people that we engage with. It's the perfect partners for us.
So also a partner that could open those doors in other countries beyond Australia could also be an appealing partner for you guys.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It will be some busy months for you guys ahead, and I think also a lot of exciting projects that you have going on. We're reaching the end of our conversation, and what I would love to wrap it up is just to get your best advice for other aspiring founders. I think you guys are on an incredible mission with a great global potential, I think tackling an issue that is tremendously personal and relevant for the people that you're serving. So what would you suggest to other aspiring founders that would like to follow similar steps of what you guys are doing?
For me, it was important to be passionate about the problem, not about being a founder. Being a founder is what it needs to tackle that problem, but you should be very passionate about the problem. It's hard solving a problem, and the success should be worth it for you, which it is for us. Like every time we see someone using what we are building, we can feel that we have succeeded, but it's because we are very passionate about the problem, not about the part that we founded.
That's a very specific thing. Gotta care about the problem, not the founder. But I mean, it sort of links with what I said in our last chat, right? About like do something that matters and at the end choose what matters to you. But be passionate and have purpose. Probably what I would say to follow up like with Raph. I mean, there's a lot of cool things that you could be doing. A lot of very meaningful problems that are worth solving one way or another. So be passionate about the problem you're solving and the people you're working with.
Be excited packing Sunday dinner for Monday waking up. You don't want to be like on Sunday, it's like, I need to go there. It's probably the wrong thing.
Guys, well, thank you very much for this fantastic conversation. Again, we're building an incredible venture, and I will be looking forward to see what comes next for you. We will be following very closely your next steps. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us. It was great.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
See ya.
See ya.
And thanks to you for joining us today. Please remember to subscribe via your favorite podcast app to be notified about new episodes and share with us your feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you also to the Maxpreneurs team, Valeria Morel, Hector Barragan from Hyper Voltage, Francisco Jaimes, Pamela Elizalde, Katia Cruz, Rocío Marroquín. I am Sergio Chavez. See you next time.